So hey everybody, what's going on? Terry here per usual. Hope you guys and gals out there are all doing well. Now look, testing out this wireless microphone kit from DJI again. I think I got the settings dialed in right, but if it doesn't sound good, let me know in the comments. I'll fix it for next time, okay? But for right now, it should be good. But the point of this video here is to show you all that I'm using my main camera here again for all these videos. I'm not stuck at my desk, and you actually might have just seen it back there, but the bokeh might have blurred out a little bit here too much. I missed using this camera, okay? This is my A7 IV. I've had this thing for a little over, I believe, a year or so now, going on 2 years. And this is my main shooter. This is what I take all my photos with, what I used to do all this stuff here, you know, like this kind of video here and everything. And well, whenever it was hooked up as a webcam, I really couldn't take it off easily and all that stuff, you know. And yeah, I had the dummy battery and it was on a quick release, but just setting it all back up, it was kind of a pain. So whenever I had the opportunity to test out a new webcam that everybody seems to be talking about these days, I had to jump at the chance because, well, the results I've seen online of this thing look ridiculous. Like, this is a webcam and it has actual bokeh, like not, you know, NVIDIA broadcast, artificial assisted, you know, computer generated blurry background. No, like it actually has legitimate, true to life, buttery background smoothness. Like it's insane. And it's not the Facecam Pro. It's not the Osbot Tiny 2 or whatever it's called. It's nothing like that. It's the Razer Kiyo Pro Ultra. Razer, this is a great webcam, but I'm begging you for the next version, shorten the name up a little bit. But how does it actually look though? Let's check it out. And folks, keep in mind, everything you're going to see from this point on is at my desk with a webcam, okay? It's nuts. Let's give it a shot.
All right, everybody, I have Razer Synapse opened up right here, and you might be saying to yourself, well, Terry, why is there a black screen here? I thought the webcam was on. Well, yeah, the webcam is on, but it has its own built-in privacy ring that you actually can open up, and it opens up what looks like aperture blades. And it just, yeah, like it's really, really, really cool. But yeah, so this here's the software. So just like a lot of other webcam software out there, you have your zoom controls here. And even if you zoom in like pretty far, like it really does look good. This has got the biggest sensor ever put inside of a webcam. It has a Sony Starvis 2 sensor, and it is a 1 over 1.2 inches with an aperture of 1.7. This thing is, it's literally insane. And I wasn't joking. Like, I had to zoom in a little bit here to show you guys how detailed this is, even if you punch in. But this background blur that you see behind me, that's legit. Like, that's not AI generated or anything. Like, that's just how big the sensor is. It lets a lot of light in, that f1.7 aperture. It just allows you to get that nice natural bokeh background, and it looks really good. Now, of course, you can have your punch-in presets for whatever you want and assign them to a shortcut key like you can with a lot of other software out there as well. For focus, you could either do auto or manual. For the autofocus mode, you can either do standard, to where you can put anything up in front of the camera and it will autofocus on it, and then we'll, you know, go back to your face after that. But I prefer to just have it focus on my face primarily, because I almost never show stuff in front of camera like that. So I just have it focused on my face. And so far, the autofocus has actually been pretty responsive. Now, passive, it's not as sticky, but I like to make sure that I'm always in focus at all times for, you know, obvious reasons. So I always keep mine here on responsive. Now, for the lighting type here, just for this example, I have it set to standard, but there is a stylized lighting option too to try to compensate for any RGB or something that you might have going on in the background. Matter of fact, let's see how that looks with the blue light here, shall we? All right, folks, that's right. We're gamers now. Oh, yeah. Okay, so let's see here. For standard, stylized. Okay, well, maybe the difference might be more obvious if I had like a, you know, RGB puke going on behind me, but I guess just for the blue light, I guess just standard or stylized is okay. And then for exposure, I always tell people to set any kind of webcam software for their exposure to manual, just to get that fine control. Then on the processing tab here, for the preview resolution, I have it set to 4K 30, but you can, of course, go ahead and just set this here to whatever you want for the preview. Now, for MJPEG quality for the 4K 30, it's normally set to auto. And don't get me wrong, I think it looks pretty good, not gonna lie, but I prefer to have that fine control whenever I can. So for auto, you have either performance or quality, but just to get the most quality out of this thing I possibly can, I have the manual, and I just have this thing completely cranked up here, okay? Now, there actually is an HDR option that I actually don't really use because my monitors here aren't HDR, so I don't necessarily have a full HDR workflow, but if you want to use it, it is there. And I think it's a little bit more contrasty. And if you ask me, I think sometimes the frame rate dips a little bit on this. Like it's not a true 4K 30 with this one here. To me, it looks like 4K 24, which is still just fine. Don't get me wrong. But unless you absolutely need HDR or you have that in like a workflow, I would just leave this here turned off, you know? Now for lens distortion compensation, I actually have this turned off because if you'll notice whenever you have it turned on, it does punch in a little bit. But what that does is that on like the outer parts of the screen here, you might notice if you have some straight lines, some like warping or some curve of the straight lines. I'm not really noticing any of that in my setup here. So I just have this here turned off because I want to have the widest field of view possible. But otherwise, it is a great option to have. Same thing for low light compensation as well. I haven't had a need to turn this on because my office here is always well lit. But I mean, hey, you know, if it's something that you might need, that's just fine. And the dynamic noise reduction, in my opinion, does work very well without losing any kind of detail in the picture here. It looks really good. Like I can enable both of these here, hit save, and there is little to no detail loss in the noise reduction process. What happens a lot of the times is that to get rid of some of that fuzziness that you might see from being inside of a low light situation, the image might get like just ever so slightly softer, but the sensor in this thing is so large and the aperture on this lens is so wide open, there's no grain at all in what you're seeing here. At least what I'm seeing here with my eyes, I can't see any kind of grain from this image at all. It looks like Razer, for real. I don't know what kind of magic you're doing either in software or if the sensor you chose and the lens you chose is just that good, but this thing is blowing my mind, y'all. It really is. Now for your image, this is where all the magic here happens. Okay, now I'm not gonna reset this back to default for obvious reasons because these settings here, you know, work for my setup here and whatnot. But you have access to your brightness, contrast, saturation, white balance, which is important. And you can actually have a slider here. Like you have a slider here for everything, which is incredible. You know what I mean? Now there is a default, there's a cool, vibrant, warm, but again, I have to have mine on custom to get everything looking the exact way I want it to. Now, there is an anti-flicker option as well. Mine's set to 60 hertz because I am, of course, here in America. And there is a watermark option here, but I just have this here turned off because this is essentially just, you know, free branding for Razer, which isn't a bad thing. Like if you're doing a sponsored video or something and you want to make sure everybody knows what kind of webcam you're using at all times for a sponsored video, of course, you would want something like this here on to let everybody know, hey, it's shot on the Razer Kiyo Pro Ultra, you know what I mean? But just for any time else, of course, just leave it off and that'll be it. And then of course you have an option here for mirrored video as well. But I mean, if you want to face the other way, you can, but I mean, it's really not a big deal. I just like to just sit down here and it looks like this here, you should be good to go. So yeah, this is what the webcam itself looks like directly inside of OBS Studio without being shown inside of the Razer Synapse software. You know, the thing here too, folks, is that I know that a lot of people do not like the Razer Synapse software. They say it's very buggy, it crashes a lot. Now, that might have been true in, you know, in earlier iterations, earlier versions of the software, but so far, everything that I've tried with it, it hasn't crashed on me once, it hasn't froze, it hasn't not saved settings. Just everything is just sort of kind of work. Now, I will say that the autofocus on this webcam here, it's not as snappy as the Elgato Facecam Pro, but I've noticed that this webcam here, the Razer Kiyo Pro Ultra, is that it's a lot more sticky. So whenever it really does get locked on your face, it doesn't do that pulsing, that focus hunting that sometimes the Elgato Facecam Pro used to do to me. I don't know if maybe I just sort of kind of got a buggy camera, but my old Facecam Pro, it used to do a lot of focus hunting a lot. And then in the last 2 or 3 days that I've had this Razer webcam here, I've had no focus hunting. Like it's gone out of focus for certain things if I want to like show something off, you know what I mean? But as far as like losing where I am in a frame, I haven't had that issue whatsoever. And again, y'all, I just truly can't get over the image quality that this webcam, again, just a webcam, I can't get over the quality that this webcam is giving you. I think the skin tones look really good out of box. You got to just up the saturation a little bit because it is a little flat. But other than that, though, I mean, it's handling this blue light behind me just fine. It's got that nice creamy bokeh background naturally without any kind of third-party AI magic trickery. So, like, yes, the webcam is a little pricey, but I mean, if you want a plug-and-play solution that gives you, I would say, like 85% of mirrorless camera quality, I would recommend something like this. Don't get me wrong, the Elgato Facecam Pro, the Osbot Tiny 2, both amazing, incredible webcams, but I wanted something that was a little bit sharper, that had a much bigger sensor to really emulate that at least APS-C style mirrorless camera, you know what I mean? And I think I found it in this Razer Kiyo Pro Ultra. But what do y'all think about the quality? Do you like it? Do me a favor, sound off in the comments below, and I will catch you guys and gals next time.